Hello, guys. Welcome to our brand new book club video. This one, I will say I've done it a lot earlier because I finally finished my book. If you guys haven't been watching my main video that I've been doing for Achieving Rejection, I've been reading my book for 30 minutes every day because I wasn't before. So that literally is the reason why I finished this book so much faster. And I'm releasing this video to you guys a lot quicker than I usually which would be technically at the next month or even at the last day of a month. But today is Earth Day. Happy Earth Day. And we're talking about Genesis Begins Again. And this is, I want to say, a young adult slash underage, elementary to high school book series. And it's a really good book. It is a bit of a personal book, I think, to the author who wrote this. Apparently, she's a history teacher, according to the final page here. But the book is about this girl named Genesis who lives in Detroit. She goes to high school, and her dad's a drunk and also just a mean overall person. And her mom is this hardworking woman who has an underpaying job and tries to keep the family together, but doesn't really understand what is going on between her husband and what's going on with her daughter. And her daughter, she's a dark-skinned woman or a dark-skinned girl who looks like her father, but wants to look like her mother, who is a light-skinned woman. And she's made fun of for this exact fact at her old high school in Detroit. And so she moves from Detroit to like Farmington Hills, which I think is still in Michigan, when they actually get evicted from their old house because the dad, who was supposed to be the breadwinner, loses all their money to gambling and alcohol. So they get evicted from their old house and they have to move into this new amazing house, which the dad is somehow finessing. And she goes to this brand new school that is no longer in like the south side of Detroit, but like in a really nice privileged area. Don't ask me how they're paying that tuition. And she kind of sees the different sides of that school. So that's really what this book is about. And I will say, per usual, we're going to talk about what the book is about and then my actual opinions so that you guys can get an overall understanding of how I feel. And of course, spoiler warning. As I said before, Genesis goes to Detroit in their school, and she goes to like one of those really south side shitty schools. So if you've ever been to public school, she's been to one of those. And she's been teased for her skin color because she is darker than the other girls, and they also don't like the fact that her hair isn't straight and flowy and basically has relaxer, or even they don't like the fact that she basically looks like a normal black girl without the weeds, wigs, and all that good stuff. And they make this list for her that's supposed to say 100 reasons why we don't like Genesis, which is a crazy thing to write in any sort of setting, but even worse when you're a growing person and you're trying to get in love with yourself and people who you claim to be your friends write these letters about yourself. And so they make this list of like why they hate her and what makes her like unlikable. And some of them are like because she is a girl, because she wants friends. And the others are more hard hitting and it's like because she's black, because her hair is an afro, because she's this about her dark skin, because she's not light skin. And they're like literally like up to 70 bullet points of different reasons why they dislike her. And even though she in this book comes off as someone who is very strong headed and doesn't take it to heart, a lot of it is also set in her family as well. Like her mom is light skinned, like I said before, and her family, just to give you a bit of background, the mom came from a family where they all were light skinned, and apparently they were used to marrying only white people who made their ancestry or descendants better looking in the old terms. And because of that, anyone who they married was darker skin or even just not the same range of them or lighter, they were looked down upon. So she has a sister who also married someone who was dark skinned, and the mom of the family just didn't like that at all. She actually almost disowned her own daughter because of that, because she thought, oh, anyone who's darker, they're just worthless people, basically feeding into the stereotype. And she didn't disown her daughter. She didn't disown the current mother of Genesis either when she also married someone dark skinned. But the grandmother is still in their family, and she puts those ideas in Genesis' head of like, you're not doing as well as you should. Like, you're not, like, why are you gotta act like your dad? And Genesis finds out that she doesn't like, the mom doesn't even like the dad, the grandma, because he is dark skinned. But he also is the stereotype of what she already been claimed to dislike her entire life. And then the dad, who is a drunk, also a gambler, also lies, cheats, steals, does all the bad. No, he doesn't cheat, but he cheats in ways of like stealing money from like the mom from when she's working hard, or lying about having a job, or not paying the rent when he's supposedly the breadwinner. And he's also been pushing a lot of heavy stereotypes he's been told in his life to Genesis. So when she's always acts like, "Oh, you look just like your parent. You look just like your dad," the dad is so quick when he's drunk to be like, "She looks nothing like me. I don't even know why y'all keep saying that. That is not my daughter." Granted, that is his daughter biologically, but the dislike he has for himself, he pushes it on his daughter so much that she starts to hate herself. And then when people from her school are saying the same thing the dad is saying, she starts to realize, I need to change myself. So she goes on this journey in this school and also to her new school where she wants to be a lighter person because her hair type is basically like mine, but she wants it to be straight. And her mom does do a hot comb on her hair, but she also wants it to be more permanent. So she goes for a relaxer later down the story through like people she thought were her friends, but just wanted her to be fitting in the stereotype of what Black people should look like in this current era or whatever. But with the skin color, she goes through different treatments. The grandmother told her that she used to do milk baths and yogurt treatments to be lighter. Granted, the grandmother is lighter genetically, so she just kind of said that out of nowhere. And Genesis is like, I'll do the same thing. She bought lemons and she put lemon all over her skin because that's known to have like a natural skin brightening product. Not enough to lighten her skin to like a lighter skin, but just in general. None of that works. So she buys literally skin brightening cream off of like their version of Amazon. I really don't know what website it was. And it actually was making her lighter skin, but it also made her look like she had vertigo. So it came off looking really bad, really patchy. But she was so desperate for so long because in her head she's being told like, oh, you're not good enough for anyone to like you. You've been told this your entire life. Let's try to find a way to make people respect you a lot more. But she realized later on in the story that when she does the skin lightening product and her mom is pissed at her, she one part understand why Genesis is doing the thing she does, but she's also another part not understanding because she didn't grow up with these type of stereotypes and she doesn't understand why Genesis doesn't like herself. But that all comes later down the storyline when the school, her new school, has a talent show. And she realized through a music teacher that she had that they actually thought she was a really good singer. They were saying that she's like Billie Holiday. A lot of like older blues artists. She very much fits their vibe of her singing, and they wanted her to perform. And she was actually grounded and she wasn't supposed to go because her mom found out she was using skin bleaching and that was terrible. And she also found out she used a relaxer on her hair, which is also terrible. But instead of like trying to understand fully, she grounded her because it was like, oh my God, you sold my money to do this. You're basically like your dad, which is not a blow to Genesis when she's actively trying to be more like her mom. But she sneaks out. She does a talent show. Before she leaves, she gives her mom the list that she was given by those terrible people in her old school. And she goes to a talent show and she performs the song that she made herself. Basically, do a lot of old blues with jazz with just her voice. And in doing so, she started to realize like all the things that she hated about herself, all the things that she thought she was doing it for either her mom or her dad or to be seen better for her peers was all very internalized. And obviously, a lot of it was externally because we can read what people said about her. But it was very much like she couldn't feel like she was enough. So she took everything that people said badly about her to heart because she believed it was so true that she had to do those things. But by making her own song for the talent show, she put in a lot of what she truly believed she went through into that song, like a lot of old singers did, like Marvin Gaye, for example, or Billie Holiday, like I said. And her mom was there in the crowd. She actually heard her singing and she knew exactly what it was that she was talking about because she had the list. So that didn't really, she didn't think too hard. And the mom is in no shape or form like the bad guy here. She very much just did not see what Genesis was going through because one, she's busy with her own job, and two, she's already having to deal with a dad being like not at home, drinking, doing all the things he's not supposed to do, and then they're getting evicted from house to house because he's lying about everything. So on top of that, her daughter is having like real issues as well, and it's like she's being pulled in a million directions, and she has her own issues with not having enough money and everything. But when the talent show ends, she gets a real heart-to-heart conversation with Genesis to truly understand what she's been going through and how bad it's been for her in so long. Because the mom knows that the grandmother is wrong. Okay, she does not co-sign anything her mom says, but it's very hard to tell your kid, hey, my grandma, your grandmother, she's crazy, but like for her daughter, it's like she's been around the grandmother for so long. It's like, how crazy can she be if she seems to like have this wealth of knowledge that's just rooted in racism, which is what this book does. But in the end, she does go on, and not only does she get the creamy crack off her head, but she also stopped having the skin bleaching because her mom took it. But also that can reverse after a while. But she started to like learn how to find things that she really likes about herself. In the last chapter or two, she rips up the list of things that was bad about herself, and she wants to start making a new list for herself that is more of the positive things that she can find that it's actually good and not just another blow that someone told her to like hate about herself or even the other direction. And they are moving again because their current house was up for eviction because the dad once again did not pay the rent. But he was there at a talent show. He did give a heart to heart while drunk to Genesis about why he's been so uptight about really convincing himself that that's his daughter and that's his kid. And it stems for racism that he's been through as well. So it's like generationally cursed down the line in that way. And how his mom always blamed him for like being the way he looks and how that affected his lifestyle. And he had like a brother who died pretty young, and his mom blamed him for the death. You know, it wasn't his fault, but a lot of that he had growing up, he put on Genesis because he just didn't know how to deal with it. But in the end, they had that heart to heart. He said he was going to AA again. This time we won't see it because there's no sequel, but it does seem like he wants to make the valid effort. But it's one of those like we'll see when we see. If not, that is up to the story to be told, and if they actually stay with the dad because he hasn't been consistent in trying to do things. He just lies about it. So there is my synopsis of the actual story. Here's the opinions of this book. This book is really good. I feel like if you ever been through something as traumatic as moving to a new school and dealing with what people truly believe about you, you would actually probably relate to this book in some way because it doesn't just deal with her friends at school or friends. It also deals with like the personal trauma she's going through at home and how she can't really talk to it with a lot of people, even with the friends she makes. And a lot of it is like how much of the trauma she's going to is like self-harmed and how much of it is actually people telling her the same thing and her having to believe it in order to move forward in her own life. And you can take a lot of this with like how racism really is in, I mean, any country, honestly, but America specifically. It's like, look at how people move in this country, right? Take any race, I guess you take African American too, and you can just say, oh, people do certain things because their family had to do it, or their friends from a different state had to do it, or their neighbors are forcing this idea onto them. Like, take how she wanted to do skin bleaching. You go to another country, skin bleaching is like a major product to be used because not only do people just be vastly racist and very colorist, but it becomes a norm when you see it on TV that no one looks like you, or you go at home and everyone's like, why can't you look like this girl? Why can't you be like your mom? Why can't you look like this person that you can never adjust to? So it becomes like a mental strain to have to fight against the noise when you're trying to be like, oh no, I should love myself for who I am. But then everyone in your family, your friends, your I don't know, sometimes your boyfriend, girlfriend, they say, oh, you would look better if you were like this. And it's like, if I'm the only one who loves myself, then why am I fighting against the grain if I'm just fighting a losing battle? So it becomes more of like how Genesis reacts in this story. And she's in high school, so her having to deal with this at such a young age is like very much like really sad, obviously, because it's not something you can just like fix the moment people start to realize, oh, you're dealing with like really bad shit that we're all putting on you. Let's just stop and you'll be better tomorrow. That's not how that works. She'll always have these thoughts. It might honestly stick with her. You know, she's not skin bleaching anymore. She might go back to those ideas of like, maybe people would like me more if I skin bleach. Maybe people would see me better like my mom if I did this to my hair. And it's like internalized battle that I think we all really go through, even if it's not about racism, that you always have to fight against to be like, no, I'm good enough. If anyone says anything differently, they're crazy and I'm okay. but you also need that support system, because if no one believes in you, it's like, really, who are you doing this for? Because people's biggest critics are themselves, and it makes it very hard for someone like, especially a high schooler, to say, hey, I'm going to fight against the noise, even if no one truly sees that way. But it was a very good book. I got this for free, so you can honestly find it anywhere. It's called Genesis Begins Again by Alicia. Is it Alicia or Alicia? Alicia D. Williams. It's a very good book. I enjoyed it, but if you guys want to know the next book, stay tuned, because I will probably release it in like a future video, because honestly, I love this book so much. But I will see you guys next time, next month, especially for the book video, or next video we want to continue on with Chasing Rejection. And remember to like, share, subscribe so you don't miss a new update from moi, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.